Hi everyone, welcome to EduTap's initiative of Perspective 360 Degree, where we do current affair based answer writing practice in a holistic and structural manner. So, if you are somebody who is preparing for exams like RBI, NABARD, etc., then this initiative is definitely going to help you with answer writing practice for the descriptive paper of Phase 2. So let us begin with the discussion, and the topic that we are going to discuss today is financial inclusion. And the reason why we have chosen this topic is because it was there in news in different articles and editorials. So 2 days ago we had International Women's Day, and there was an article related to the role of fintech in financial inclusion of women. Similarly, there were other articles also that were related to Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana being the biggest instrument for financial inclusion. And in the past also, Mrs. Nirmala Sitaraman, she had also given different statements with respect to the Jan Dhan accounts and financial inclusion. So it was there in news in the recent times. So I thought it would be a great opportunity if we discuss the whole theme of financial inclusion and discuss its objective, challenges, and the way forward related to it. So, we are going to divide the discussion into the current affair analysis as well as the answer writing practice. So, it is going to be an interesting session for you. Apart from that, there was a good article on World Bank's website which is related to the barriers to women's digital financial inclusion. And I've attached the link of this article. It will only take 5 to 6 minutes. And what you will do, you can take some data points and arguments from it as a value addition material. So you can read this article, and it is an interesting article related to financial inclusion for women. And now let's move on to the relevance of this topic as far as the syllabus is concerned. And when we see the RBI Grade B syllabus, then the topic financial inclusion has been mentioned very specifically. Similarly, for NABARD Grade A also, the financial inclusion topic has been mentioned precisely as a part of your syllabus. Then when we see the SEBI Grade A syllabus, then we have this topic of economics, and indirectly this topic of financial inclusion is related to the SEBI syllabus also, though it is not mentioned precisely, but it is a part of your syllabus. Then, as you would be knowing that as a part of our Perspective 360 degree initiative, what we do is, first of all, we are going to discuss an expected question in this session, and once this session is done, we are going to give you a practice question, and you have to write the answer of this practice question in the comment box. That will be evaluated by our team within 48 hours. And let me also tell you that this whole initiative is free of cost. So I hope this is clear to you. Now the expected question for today's topic is, what is financial inclusion, and what challenges does the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana face in enhancing financial inclusion in India, and what are the potential solutions to these challenges? So the question can be divided into three parts. The first keyword is regarding the financial inclusion. It is asking about directly asking about what it is. So you are expected to start from the definition of financial inclusion. Then it is asking about the challenges related to Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which is an important program of government related to financial inclusion. And then thirdly, it is asking about the solution. So let me give you a brief idea about what Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is, in case you are not aware about the program. So Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is a scheme under Ministry of Finance that aims to provide financial services to the unbanked and underbanked population of India. So the aim of this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is to bring economically disadvantageous people to the formal banking system. And what type of financial services does it provide? It provides services related to, such as the banking services, then the insurance services, pension services, services related to remittances, and etc. So there are different type of services that it provides. So the broader aim of this whole Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is to promote financial inclusion, which is nothing but it aims to provide financial services to the disadvantageous and the unprivileged section of the society. So we are going to discuss it in detail, but the aim of this discussion was to make you understand about what Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is. I hope you are getting my point. So since I have now told you about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, so now we are in a position to discuss about the expected question. But before we do that, let me also discuss the answer blueprint with you. This is the way you have to structure your answer. So your answer should be divided into the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion. So the introduction should not cross 10 to 12% of the total word limit. The same case applies to conclusion also. And the rest of the word limit should be dedicated to the body part, which will include different headings and subheading. So in this case, the question is directly asking about financial inclusion definition. So you should start your introduction with definition of financial inclusion, what it is. You can also briefly talk about its objectives very briefly. You don't have to consume a lot of word limit while discussing the introduction, and you can always support your definition or your argument with data or relevant facts. I hope this is clear. Now, moving on to body part, the body part shall include the challenges and the solution related to the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Now we know what Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is. So here you are also going to give a brief idea about what is PMJDY, which is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. You can write few lines on it, and after that, if the word limit allows, then you can write some essential details about the program, and then you can start with the challenges and the solutions related to it. And at the end of your answer, you are going to write a short conclusion that will summarize your whole answer with a solution oriented approach. So I hope this is clear, and I always repeat these things in my video because a lot of new people also join our initiative. So everybody understands this point, so that's why I often repeat these things. So I would also like to repeat that while you are writing your answers, please avoid generalization of answer, which means always substantiate your arguments with facts, examples, or data. This is among those things that are going to give you a competitive edge in the exam. So keep these things in mind while writing your answers so that we can give you a better feedback about how to improve upon it. So I hope this is clear. Now, if we break down the question, we have already broken down the question, and we have seen it that we are going to write the introduction, then the body part 1, body part 2, and the summary. We have discussed it. Now let's move on to the conceptual part about what exactly is financial inclusion. So if you break down this term, financial inclusion, then it can be divided into two parts. The first part is finance, the second part is inclusion. So finance, we all know, means the money related matters or the financial services related affairs. So what do you mean by inclusion? Inclusion is nothing but it means ensuring equal access of opportunities to all sections of the society. What do we mean by all sections of the society? A society has different sections such as the rich class, the middle class, and the poor class. So, more importantly, the financial inclusion aims to target these poor people because they are the ones who are mostly affected and are economically disadvantaged, and the government aims to provide financial inclusion to these communities. So this is the whole idea behind financial inclusion, and this idea of inclusion is a part of inclusive growth. So financial inclusion is also a part of inclusive growth, which is an important concept as far as your syllabus is concerned. So we are going to put a small light on inclusive growth also, so that you are able to interrelate these two topics and you are in a position to understand how financial inclusion is a part of inclusive growth. So what do you mean by inclusive growth, and how this growth is different from any ordinary growth that we often read? So, inclusive growth is nothing but it is an economic growth that is distributed fairly across society and creates opportunity for all. This all here is very important because all I have already said, it includes all the sections of the society, which more specifically includes underprivileged sections also. So this is the main idea behind inclusive growth. So another thing about inclusive growth is that it is not a quantitative concept. It is a qualitative concept. How do we understand that? Such as inclusive growth does not only talk about the GDP, unlike growth. So, if you see an ordinary growth that we often see, it talks about the GDP, which is gross domestic product. But the inclusive growth, when we add inclusive to the word growth, then the meaning becomes more deeper. It not only talks about GDP, but also talk about the distribution of that certain income among different sections of the society. So I hope you are getting my point. How inclusive word changes, not changes, but I would say it increases the depth of that specific term. So when we are adding inclusive with the growth includes all the different sections of the society. When we add inclusive to financial services, then it means the financial services are meant to be provided to the unprivileged sections of the society. So this is the importance of the inclusive growth. Now there are different components of inclusive growth, such as the equity, poverty alleviation, sustainable development, and capacity enhancement. So equity means the equal access to the opportunities. What kind of opportunities? It can be related to healthcare services, education services, to participate in different employment sectors. So there are different type of opportunities. Then equity as a part of inclusive growth ensures that everybody get equal access to opportunities. Then we have poverty alleviation. So if a person get equal access to opportunities, then what will happen? They will be in a position to provide or to fulfill his basic needs. So basic needs include such as the food, the shelter, cloth, etc. So these are the basic needs, and when the person is able to fulfill these minimum basic needs, then he is able to become more economically uplifted. Then the third point is regarding the sustainable development. So sustainable development means the continuity in the availability of opportunities. So it means the opportunities that were present yesterday, are they present today, and are they going to be present tomorrow? So it talks about the continuity of in the continuity in the availability of those opportunities. So that's what we mean by sustainable development. The last point is regarding capacity enhancement. So capacity enhancement sees human as the driver of economic development. So it sees the individuals as the driver of economic development. So what capacity enhancement means, that how can the human capital can contribute to the economic development. So how it can be done? It can be done by the availability of resources, then by the upskilling and enhancing the other capabilities of individuals and communities. So that's what we mean by capacity enhancement. So I hope this whole idea of inclusive growth is clear to you, how it is interrelated with financial inclusion, and these topics are closely connected, and financial inclusion is a part of inclusive growth. Now, the next thing that we are going to discuss is the introduction. So, in the introduction part, we are going to see what is financial inclusion. So, as the questions asks about what is financial inclusion very directly, so we are going to write what is financial inclusion, and also we are going to give a brief overview about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, because the question also talks about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. So, starting from the introduction, we have already seen what is financial inclusion. So, let's see the definition. Financial inclusion refers to the availability and accessibility of financial services to all segments of the society. This all is very important. All the segments of society, especially the marginalized and underserved population. Fine. Then we are talking about the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which is the national mission for financial inclusion launched in 2014, that has been instrumental in advancing financial inclusion across the country. So again, what we are doing, we are connecting this point with the first point. So firstly, we talked about financial inclusion. Now we are talking about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and how it is related to financial inclusion. Then we are talking about the aim of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which is to provide universal access to banking services, ensuring that every individual has at least one bank account. So that's how you can construct your introduction by uh, writing all the different elements of the question in a precise manner. So since the question was very precisely asking about the financial inclusion, so we have touched upon that area, and we have also attached the significance or the aim of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana very precisely. Then what we can do, we can support our introduction with certain data or relevant facts. So we can write here that in 2023, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana has successfully opened over 450 million bank accounts across the country. So we are giving a data which shows or which reflects the importance of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and talks about its achievement in one single line very briefly. So that's how you can design your introduction. And let us move on to the importance of financial inclusion. What is the importance of financial inclusion in our country? So this same importance will also apply to Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, because it is a part of financial inclusion. It aims to provide financial inclusion only. So the first importance is to promote economic growth and development. How does financial inclusion promote economic growth and development? Because when the people will get access to banking services, what will happen? They will be in a position to save, invest, and accumulate capital. And what will happen as a result of that? It will lead to increase in economic development. So they will be able to save, invest, and accumulate in capital and become a part of the formal banking system. What will happen if they become a part of formal banking system? This will lead to more transparency and accountability, which is absent in the informal banking system, and this will lead to more economic stability. So you can see how this idea of financial inclusion is very important as far as the economic development and economic stability is concerned. So that's how it promotes economic growth and development. The next thing is that it also reduces poverty and inequality. So of course, if the economic growth and development objectives are achieved, then they will reduce the poverty and inequality in the society, because once the person will start getting banking services, they become a part of formal banking system by opening their bank accounts, especially the underprivileged section of the society. Then what will happen? They will be in a better position to avail the different services, policies, as well as the subsidy benefits from the side of the government. So that will help them to reduce poverty and will promote through the financial inclusion. The third point is fosters social inclusion and empowerment. So when they will get access to the banking services and other financial services as a part of financial inclusion, that will increase their involvement in decision making. And by providing these services to unprivileged section of the society, we are also promoting the social inclusion. So that is also an important point for financial inclusion. The next is increases banks efficiency. Now how does financial inclusion increases bank efficiency? It happens by increasing, when financial inclusion will happen, then it will lead to increase in customer base of the bank. Then what it will lead to? It will lead to diversification of revenue streams, because people from different backgrounds and different base will come and start their bank accounts in the formal banking system. So to banks it will help in the diversification of their revenue streams. Then it will lead to the better allocation of resources and diversification of risk. So that's how the bank's efficiency get improved, with diversification of risk, with better allocation of resources, and the more customers will come to the bank's availability to give credit, that is to give loan to the people, will also increase. And when the banks will give more loans to the people, the bank is going to get earning through the interest rate in return, and this will increase the profitability and the efficiency of the banks. So I hope this point is clear. Now let's get into the other details, which is the body part of the question, where we are going to see the different challenges with respect to the financial inclusion. So the challenges faced by Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana in financial inclusion are: the first one is the dormant accounts. What do we mean by dormant accounts? Dormant accounts means inactive accounts, or the accounts that have been unused for a long time. And what is the reason behind these dormant accounts? The basic reasons are such as lack of awareness, low income, or you can say low financial activity, then lack of technology, especially in the rural areas. So that could be the reason why people start discontinuing their accounts and keep them inactive, which leads to dormant accounts. And as per the data, around 18 to 20% of the bank accounts under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, they are dormant. And this is not a small number, it is a big number, a significant number. And 18 to 20% of bank accounts under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana are dormant, which is an important challenge. The second point is last mile connectivity. So this is very much self-explanatory, which means connecting the hinterlands of the country. So connecting the rural areas, the hinterlands of the country, has always been the challenge to provide the government plans and implement the policies. So financial inclusion is also one of them. So this is also a major challenge faced by Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. The third challenge is regarding the digital divide. So digital divide is nothing but it is the gap between those who have access to technology versus those who do not have such access. So if you see the data, only 31% of the rural population uses the internet compared to 67% of their urban counterparts. So this shows the digital divide between the rural and the urban parts of the country. So this has to be fixed and is an important challenge for the financial inclusion, because if the digital divide is there, if the technology gap is there, then it becomes very challenging to implement the financial inclusion and to provide the banking services in those areas. The next point is regarding more reliance on informal sector or the informal lending. So informal lending means the lending that is done outside the formal banking system. So it includes lending from money lenders, etc. Fine, and it especially happens in rural areas. So as per the data, one third of rural households in India still depend on non-institutional sources for loans. So this is also an important challenge because it leads to a lot of exploitation when it comes to bad lending practices. So it leads to a lot of exploitative practices, and a lot of frauds also happen due to these due to the reliance on the informal lending. So I hope this is clear to you. The last point is regarding stringent documentation requirements and KYC norms. Let me erase the ink. Yes. So the last point is stringent documentation requirement and KYC norms. So you would be knowing that if you want to apply to a bank or if you want to take a loan from the bank, then it requires a lot of documentation and other formalities, which is not the case in the informal lending because they do it very easily. But what they do is they exploit that person by giving the loan at a very high interest rate. So, but the problem with the formal banking system is that they require a lot of stringent documentation and KYC norms. KYC norms means know your customer norms, which is for the verification of the customer. So, this is also an important challenge due to which a lot of people refrain from opening their bank accounts in this banking system. So, that problem has also meant to be solved. So these are the basic challenges that are there regarding the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. One point that I would like to share is that see, whenever you are writing the point, as I also discussed in the part of answer blueprint, that you should always avoid writing general answers. So if the question comes on Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana in your exam, then anybody would be able to think of these problems. These are very common problems that we face in our day-to-day lives. So the challenge is not to think about these problems. Everybody will be able to write these problems in the exam. But the competitive edge that you are going to gain is because of the value addition points that you are going to write with your answers. So you should always try to substantiate your arguments by using such type of data. So you can see if I have written 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 points, then out of those 5 points I have substantiated my at least 3 points with the relevant data. So you should always follow this approach so that you get that competitive edge and can get awarded the maximum marks. So this is an important part of answer writing, and with practice we are going to get better and learn more and more. The next thing is regarding the solutions of these challenges. So when as far as the solutions are concerned, the solutions should be addressed as per the challenges that you have mentioned previously. So if I mentioned financial literacy here, then I've also mentioned digital divide here. So the financial literacy is the solution for digital divide, because what a lot of students do it, they will write different set of challenges over here, and when it comes to solutions, the solutions are going to be for different problems. I mean, it's okay if you are writing 1 to 2 points here and there, but you should always prefer to answer the challenges that you have written previously. So the first solution is regarding the enhancement of financial literacy and how this problem can be solved. This problem can be solved by promoting the awareness campaign and by establishing financial education centers. I hope this is clear. Now the next problem is was regarding infrastructure. So the solution for infrastructure can be the establishment of community Wi-Fi hotspot in public spaces, then improving internet connectivity. Then you can also avail solutions such as the usage of artificial intelligence, especially in creating chatbots, and AI based fraud detection systems. So these are the different type of methods when it comes to the solutions regarding the infrastructure problems. The third is creation of database. Now, what type of problems the database can solve? So, what we can do is we can create a database to capture the income and transaction history of Jandan accounts. Suppose these are the different Jandan accounts, and if we are capturing their transaction history, then it will help. It will help us to know why some accounts are becoming dormant and why some accounts are using their bank accounts more often. And as per on the basis of that, what we can do it, we can design the policies and different programs in order to improve the implementation of financial inclusion schemes in India. So what it will help in, it will help us in creating a database, and that database can be analyzed to create better credit delivery models. So that is the importance of creation of database and can be one of the potential solutions. The next is the need for data protection regime. As you would be knowing that in this era of digitization, everything is online. So we need a better data protection regime in order to strengthen our cyber security measures. So this point is very basic and self-explanatory. So let's move on to next point, which is simplify the KYC norms. So what simplifying KYC norms will do, it will reduce the number of documents in the banking system, and this will lead to more easier opening of bank accounts and will attract more customers. So simplifying KYC norms is also an efficient solution. Apart from that, there can be other solutions also, such as accepting the alternative forms of identifications. If the person does not have an Aadhaar card, what the banks can do is they can ask for his voter ID, utility bills, etc., in order to perform the identification measures. So there can be different alternative approaches regarding that. So this can be also another solution. The last solution can be leveraging the differentiated banks. So what are differentiated banks? Differentiated banks are the banks that target a specific niche. So what type of niche they can target? They can target niche such as related to small farmers, rural communities, low income groups, etc. So these differentiated banks are different from the universal banks. So universal banks accept customers from all the diversified backgrounds and their targets all the diversified niches. So the example can be SBI of universal bank, whereas the differentiated banks can be such as the payment banks, the small finance banks, etc. So these are the differentiated banks that work in a particular niche in order to a certain or a specific set of problems. So what we can do is we can create more differentiated banks, especially in the rural areas, and we can strategically deploy them in order to promote the financial inclusion in those areas to avail more better and advanced banking services in those areas. So this is the point regarding leveraging the differentiated banks. So I hope this is also clear. Now, after discussing the challenges and the solutions, what we can do is we are going to discuss the conclusion regarding it. So this is a ready-made conclusion that I've written for your reference, and this will help you to know or to understand how to write effective conclusions for your answer. So Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana stands as the pivotal initiative to bridge the gap between financial services and marginalized communities, promoting a more inclusive and resilient financial ecosystem. So we are talking about the importance of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana in one single line. Then we are talking about it played the role as a catalyst for economic empowerment and social inclusion. So what we are doing, we are appreciating or showing the significance of PMJDY. So this is just like a short summary, because the question was asking about the challenges and solutions related to the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. So what we are doing, we are addressing its significance in 2 points. Then what we are writing, what should be the solution, what should be the way forward related to it. So the way forward can be, government should work in the direction of comprehensive roadmap provided under the recommendation of Rangarajan Committee on Financial Inclusion. So it was a committee that was formed, and it addressed, or it highlighted many different solutions with respect to the financial inclusion. So what government can do, government can effectively follow these recommendations and can work in the direction of financial inclusion in India. So I hope the conclusion is clear to you. It is showing, it is addressing the question, and also it is putting a light on the solution or the way forward that we should follow as a long term solution. So I hope this is clear. Now the last part is regarding our practice question that you have to write in the comment section, and we are going to evaluate it. So the practice question is, how does financial inclusion contribute to economic development and social empowerment? So it is asking about both economic development and social empowerment, and what strategies can government implement to actively promote and facilitate financial inclusive financial inclusion initiatives, ensuring that all citizens have access to essential banking services. So it is asking about the what kind of approaches that the government can follow. So you can write the answer of this question in the comment box, which will be evaluated by our team. And let me repeat that it is a free of cost initiative. So I hope this lecture was effective for you, and that is it for today. Thank you so much and all the best.